Welcome to Worthy of Work, the podcast dedicated to helping anyone who's done having lousy, lonely, disappointing relationships and who's ready to do the work to build better connections. I'm Stephanie Rivard, and if you've ever questioned your sanity, wondered if healthy relationships are even real, or wonder if there's anything you can do to attract or create a healthier relationship, you are exactly where you need to be. Together, we will unpack the healthy relationship skills no one taught us. Welcome to today's episode. Have you ever had someone tell you that what you clearly remember never happened? Or that your response is too emotional, or that you're crazy? You might have been experiencing gaslighting. In today's episode, we're going to dive into this term and look at where the term comes from, how we can spot gaslighting in relationships, and most importantly, what we can do to respond. So let's dive in. The term gaslighting actually comes from an old movie, 1944. This movie Gaslight came out, and the husband is trying to make his wife go insane. So he starts adjusting details around their home, and when she notices them, he pretends nothing's changed. And most notably, where this word comes from, he changes the gaslight around their home and pretends nothing is different. Well, in real life, gaslighting is a lot like that. When the gaslighter is telling their victim, what you're experiencing isn't real. No, nothing's different. Nothing's wrong. You're overreacting. Now everything's fine here. Denying the reality that the victim sees, wait a second, no, there's something off. And the byproduct, of course, is to create a sense of self-doubt that I can't even trust my own assessment of reality. I can't even trust what I'm seeing with my own eyes. The light's getting dimmer, and back to the movie reference. I can't even trust my own eyes. What's going on here? And it creates this deep, insidious self-doubt, and it is a form of psychological manipulation. Gaslighting is not reserved just for intimate relationships, friendships, family members, even employment situations. Gaslighting is a tool that's often used for people to hide bad behavior, to adjust reality, to get away with things, or just for straight up oppression and control over someone. If someone can be taught through gaslighting that they can't trust themselves, it creates this really sick attachment and dependency on the gaslighter for the gaslighter to tell the victim what's real. It's a terrible, sick tool that is very toxic. So let's look into the words, the phrases that can help you identify, oh, this sounds like gaslighting. Number one, and this is more of an internal dialogue. The internal dialogue, if I'm ever wondering, like, am I crazy? Just tap the brakes. Tap the brakes, come back to this episode, get a counselor, someone, get another set of eyes, because there might be something going on there. But let's look at the words, the phrasing that you might hear from a gaslighter to create this effect. And I've noticed a couple areas I'm going to cover here that this is what I've noticed in a gaslighting dynamic. One is to cause the person to doubt their emotions or their assessment of a situation. This seems to happen in one of two ways. One is to trivialize the response. So here the manipulator wants you to believe that something that is actually serious is actually insignificant. Phrases here are, oh, you're just overreacting. This is not a big deal. Like, why are you blowing this out of proportion? Chill out. And again, this is to trivialize and to cause you to doubt, maybe my reaction, maybe my assessment of this situation is flawed. Maybe, maybe I think this is a big deal, but maybe it shouldn't be. The other way to cause that doubting of our emotions and our assessment of the situation is when they twist. When they twist something that is actually serious and pretend it's something funny or playful. Here, the language sounds like, can't you just take a joke? Like, man, I was just messing around. Relax a bit. You're always so serious. You're always overreacting. You're so sensitive. And again, this is intended to cause you to believe that when your body's saying, oh, this is something serious and I need to address this, that you can't trust that. That's the goal, is that you would ignore and choose not to trust that, and instead trust the words of this other person. Gaslighting. Another form of gaslighting is more in the form of straight up denial. Like, I'm going to change the terms, the facts of the event. This is going to sound like, that didn't happen. I don't remember saying that. That's not how I remember it. I maybe you're mistaking me for someone else. And here the tool is used to rewrite the terms, to create new details that the gaslighter wants you to believe, these new details. And in here, the gaslighter needs you to doubt your own memory. The facts that you know you saw, you heard, and instead trust the words of the gaslighter. Another version of gaslighting is the straight up redirect. Gosh, I don't want to talk about this topic. I'm going to redirect it, and we're going to talk about you and how you're crazy and how you're overreacting. In fact, so-and-so thinks you always overreact. And now we are going to pivot the topic away from the problem or the event that is causing the issue, and we're going to talk about your sanity. See, this pivot and redirect. Some other words that might indicate gaslighting are the absolutes. Never, always, every time. And these really overinflated words that are used to exaggerate. You always are overreacting. You never trust me. Well, those are different topics than staying on the topic where we could actually maybe create a solution. But those kind of words are cues that gaslighting is happening. If you're tempted to believe that, wait a minute, my emotions are wrong, my assessment of the situation are wrong, the details that I know to have happened must be wrong, am I crazy? That is gaslighting. Over time, the victim of gaslighting will be beaten down. Their sense of self-confidence and self-trust is eroded intentionally. This is the crafted result of gaslighting, is for the victim to not believe themselves, not believe what they know to be true, and it relies on this toxic sense of confusion, of details ever changing, but the gaslighter knows the truth. So yes, over time, self-doubt is usually a real culprit here. Confusion, low self-esteem, even the isolation. So someone who's been exposed to a lot of gaslighting, this self-esteem and isolating would come into effect quite naturally, because they don't really know how to interact now around other people, because I can't even trust my own assessment of things. So this isolation creeps in, depression, anxiety. This is the byproduct. And Gaslighting, I'm going to say this out loud. It is not a small thing. It is a toxic, abusive behavior that is wrong and should not be tolerated. If you're in a relationship where this is occurring, please address it quickly. And how do we do that? Okay, so how do we respond to gaslighting? I mean, if this is happening, please get professional help, because this is a form of emotional abuse, of intellectual harm. This is not something to tolerate in a relationship. In the moment, let's look at ways to respond to a gaslighter. So we can do a few things. One is to stand firm on what you know. This is easier like the first time or the second time gaslighting has happened, but if this has been habitual, this will be very hard to do. So something like, I won't continue this conversation if my emotions will be undermined. Or I'm not willing to negotiate or reassess what I know to be true. I'm not asking what happened. I know what happened. So comments where I'm watching myself and protecting myself from navigating other details. So I'm not willing to negotiate my emotions. I'm not willing to negotiate what I know was said or what I just saw with my own eyes. I know what I just saw. And that's not up for grabs. I'm not going to discuss that. And one phrase that I love and I have found quite helpful in this arena, but in many arenas, is I won't negotiate the non-negotiables. And in this topic, we can use that as a guide to say, I'm not negotiating what I know to be true. I am going to stay on this topic, and the gaslighter will panic and desperately want to divert the topic. So be warned. So these are boundaries. These are boundaries to say, I won't discuss this any further if you're going to insult me or tell me my emotions are wrong, or to rewrite the terms of the details. I won't participate in that anymore. And I would remove myself from that conversation if that's how the person will conduct themselves. We can also use I statements. I love I statements. And use that to express what's going on here. So instead of saying, you're gaslighting me, we could say, I feel confused when my memories are refuted. And again, I'm not going to discuss those memories, and we're not going to negotiate them because I know what they are. But we can state that. And again, maybe in close, if I'm in a conversation with someone who's gaslighting me, that is not a safe conversation. There's nothing I'm likely to say or do to improve this conversation or to get a gaslighter to stop gaslighting. This person is using a toxic tool, and I'm best just to remove myself from that experience. It's like if someone was, I don't know, running around with a nail gun, shooting nails all over the place. I'm best just to be out of harm's way. And that's kind of the response I have now to gaslighting is when I see it, when I spot it, I'm just going to remove myself because it's not safe for me to engage in a conversation with someone like that. So as I mentioned, this is a topic that if is happening, professional help is going to be really important here for a number of reasons. One, to help navigate this conversation between two people, but also to verify, to validate if this has been happening for a while, that self-doubt, and you're questioning your own sanity. It is going to be very helpful to have someone else validate the experience and say, no, these are the facts, this is what's happening, and to give some reassurance to you about the truth. Because gaslighting the intent of gaslighting is to rewrite that, to cause you to doubt yourself to such a degree that you don't know what's real or not. And again, that is not healthy. It should not be tolerated in relationships. And I hope that this episode today just sheds a little light on this term and the behavior that is involved in unhealthy relationships. That's it for today's episode. If this resonates with you, please subscribe, share, or leave a review. It helps more people find this work. And remember, I'm not a therapist. I'm just someone who once thought dysfunction was pretty normal. I wanted better and learned new tools. And so can you.